Welcome to the Hank Haney Podcast. I am recording today on nofilter.net. You can find my podcast on nofilter.net, and you can also find some great programming on nofilter.net. Today's podcast is brought to you by haneyuniversity.com. That is my website. You can do a few things there. One, you can find some great golf deals on haneyuniversity.com. Number two, you can register for my free instructional videos. They go out on a weekly basis. So if you're interested in getting better at golf, that is the place you can do it. And number three, you can also find out about getting golf lessons from me, personal lessons, either at my studio in Paradise Valley, Arizona, or in Deerfield, Illinois. Soon. Not yet, but soon. Deerfield, Illinois, which is where we are living, actually on the North Shore of Chicago. We are there right now for my son Henry's hockey. But today we are talking about golf, not hockey. We're talking about golf. I had a big podcast the other day where I talked about the U.S. Open. And of course, you can't talk about a U.S. Open without talking about multiple things that are going to be screwed up at the U.S. Open, because it just happens all the time. It doesn't matter whether it's Shinnecock Hills when they forget to water the greens, or the water in the greens during the round, or they put the pin in a position where nobody can finish, balls are putting off the green, or Chambers Bay where they pick a golf course out of nowhere to go play and then they ruin the greens. Oakmont where, Dustin Johnson wins and they penalize him during the round for, his ball supposedly moving. And then the next year, of course, they changed the rule because it was a stupid rule to begin with. And he wins the tournament, and they have a big discussion afterwards. Then they came and remember how to pronounce guys' names when they win the tournament. It's just one thing right after another. One of the things I've been on the USJ for years is that at PGA Tour events, if you are in the active military, you get free tickets to the U.S. to a U.S. PGA Tour event. Okay, you get free tickets, but the USGA can't figure out how to give free tickets to first responders, military, active military, retired military. They can't figure it out. They think that that's something that shouldn't happen. They're too worried about the fact that they want to sell their tickets, which is kind of weird, because if you really wanted to sell tickets, would you go and play at the Los Angeles Country Club where they had the U.S. Open and you could only have 20,000 spectators? Like, you would think that, considering the U.S. Open produces like 75% of the revenue for the USGA, that they would go to a golf course that could produce the most amount of income. And by the way, if you produce more income, then you could actually have higher prize money for the players. That would be nice too. But they go to a place that can only accommodate 20,000 people. And when you watch the tournament, it didn't look like anybody was out there because the golf course was unwalkable. They had you go into certain areas of the course where you had to, be over here or be over there, and you couldn't actually watch the golf tournament. So the whole thing made no sense to me. But what I really want to talk about is this ruling that people keep talking about. It's like this has gone on for well over a week now. Rory's ruling on the 14th hole. Now, I talked about this on one of my podcasts. There was a great, spectacular, one of the greatest videos ever on the Twitter. And it was done by BigPantsGolf.com. BigPantsGolf.com called up the USGA and he got a rules person on the phone, and he went through the whole ruling on the 14th hole with Rory, where his ball embedded in the side of a slope, short iron in there, par 5, embeds in the side of the slope. The USGA official comes over there, determines by sticking her hand down a slope and kind of into the hole that the golf ball caused, she's determined, without getting in there and seeing it, she determines that, and she didn't get in the bunker. She reached her hand over, and Rory kind of showed her where the hole was that his ball was stuck in, and she determined that, yeah, that ball is embedded in the earth. Okay, and Rory gets the drop. Now, I'm not blaming Rory McIlroy on this. A lot of people on Twitter, social media, talking about Rory McIlroy cheated. You know what? Every player is going to do the same thing, and they have forever. They are going to call for a ruling if there's any chance in the world they could get a drop. And they're going to call for that ruling, and they're going to see, hey, you know what? Let me see if this person, this official, is stupid enough to give me a drop. And if you were a player, your chances are the greatest at the U.S. Open because it is an amateur organization. And I'm sure these people know the rules backward and forward. But you know what amateurs do? They choke. They choke under pressure. And when you have a top player, I don't care who it is, Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, Greg Norman, Seve Ballesteros, oh my God, he used to intimidate officials like crazy and got so many good rulings. And at the U.S. Open, it was Rory McIlroy. And he got a great ruling. It wasn't his fault. He asked for the ruling. He got the ruling. That is not cheating. That is what every player would do 100% of the time. He's not going to say, hey, you're giving me this drop, but I don't really think I should get a drop. I think you're misinterpreting the rules. I don't think you understand that my ball's in the hill here. It's in the side of the hill. And, I'm not going to measure up the hill and then across. I'm going to just drop I'm going to start measuring at the top of the hill, which, by the way, was like 18 inches from where his ball was at least. And he measures at the top of the hill and goes over sideways, the length of a driver, 45 inches. And, and it turns out that he should have been going that way, no doubt about it. But he should have gone up the hill and then sideways. And that would have cost him 18 to 20 inches. So instead of moving 45 inches from the crest of that slope over to the side, he should have been going only about 25 inches. And you only go about 25 inches, maybe all of a sudden you don't even have a place to stand. But that's not how they saw it at the USGA. Because after BigPantsGolf.com, I love this guy. After BigPantsGolf.com called him up on the phone and went through this whole deal with him. And he had this poor guy. He had this USGA guy this poor guy was tied in knots. I mean, it was hilarious. You got to go on YouTube and watch this if you haven't already. But he's got them all tied in knots, okay? And the next thing you know, the guy admits it was an improper drop at the direction of a referee. In other words, the referee screwed up. It happens, but it happens a lot with the USGA. Oh my God, it happens a lot. So now they get the BigPantsGolf.com is talking to the USGA guy. He says, are you going to tell people that, this ruling was wrong? He's, oh yeah, we're probably going to make a statement. We're going to make a statement. Well, when are you going to make a statement? Well, I don't know when we're going to make a statement. We might make a statement. Are you going to make a statement before the British Open, the Open Championship? Well, that's humma. And the USGA guy is just, he doesn't know where he's coming or going. Okay. But this gets everybody going on Twitter because now everybody is following what happened when the USGA guys say, because BigPantsGolf.com exposed the fact that, they had another screw up at the US Open. Hard to believe they had another screw up at the US Open. So next thing you know, everybody starts talking about this. Everybody, okay? And when they do, they start realizing that you know what? This was not a good ruling. This was not a good ruling. So when they're going on and on about this, and now they start talking about it on Twitter, and everybody's going on to it. And next thing you know, the USJ decides that, we're going to make a comment. We're going to make a comment. And they did. And Bob Herrick, SportsIllustrated.com, SI.com, Bobby Herrick, longtime, writer follows the PGA Tour, follows golf, used to be with ESPN, but now he's with SI. And he wrote a big article on this. And he's talking to Thomas Pagel. T-shirt Thomas Pagel. Now, you know why I call him T-shirt Thomas Pagel? Because years back, the USJ, with one of their public service announcements, which, those things were great. They used to come on the US Open, and they would have people trying to educate you on the rules of golf. Like, okay, this is how you take a drop. And Thomas Pagel would get out there. He's like the director of rules or something he's USGA's Chief Governance Officer. Yeah, that's a fancy title right there. He's the Chief Governance Officer, okay? And he would get on there and he would tell you how to take a drop. And they videoed him. And he's the guy that wore a T-shirt, like this is a T-shirt. He wore a T-shirt underneath his golf shirt. Now, first off, it's weird enough that you can't ever see a USGA guy without a blue blazer, okay, khaki slacks, okay, blue blazer, khaki slacks, penny loafers. If you ever see a USGA guy without a blue blazer, khaki slacks, and penny loafers, just make sure you call me, because I want to know about it, because I want video or photo confirmation that this actually occurred. I don't think any of those guys have ever been anywhere without a khaki slack, a penny loafer, or a blue blazer on their body every single time. So Thomas Pagel, though, was he was doing himself a video on how to do refereeing or dropping, and he had the T-shirt on underneath the golf shirt in the middle of summer. Now that is a rather peculiar outfit, so I nicknamed him T-shirt Thomas Pagel. That's how I came up with Thomas Pagel T-shirt. So T-shirt is talking to Bobby Herrick, and he's going to tell him he's telling him about this ruling and what went wrong. Okay. Now he goes, the nearest point of relief was misidentified. Well, no kid. Because, when I was watching and I don't know the rules that good. I coached on tour for 35 years. I played golf since I was, 10 years old, 12 years old, been a professional for 40 something years. I don't go to USGA rules seminars. I know the rules better than most, but touring pros don't even know the rules. That's why they always have to have a rules official come over, plus the fact that they're trying to see if they can, maybe get a favorable ruling. But they don't know the rules. But when I was watching on TV, I was thinking, he's supposed to drop one club length from his nearest point of relief. He's on the side of a bank. How does he get to go to the top of the bank and then drop there? And he did this right in front of the rules official. The rules official told him where to go. I mean, seriously, how can you be that bad at your job? That is your job. Nearest point of relief. How do you go up 2 feet to the top of a ledge and then get to drop 40? And I'm watching this on TV. I'm like, whoa, I must not understand that rule. Well, obviously they didn't understand it either. because that's what happened. And he said that was misidentified. Well, just a little problem. He said if there's no immediate area directly behind the ball, you go to the nearest point in the general area. But if you look at where the ball is embedded, there was a grassy area below that, and that should have been the starting point. Well, the grass area below that would have put him even a few more inches away from the top of the ledge. But he went up the slope to the top of the ledge and then over 45 inches, darn near to the fairway. Okay. So anyway, this was a bad drop at the direction of the referee. But here's Thomas Pagel, T-shirt Thomas Pagel. I'm quoting on Bobby Herrick's article. His ball was 100% embedded. Now, Thomas Pagel, I guess, could tell that from TV. Okay. How does he know 100%? And could you believe anything the USGA tells you is 100%? How could he know 100% that the ball was embedded? See, Big Pants Golf was disputing whether that ball was ever embedded. He made a good point. Was it embedded in the rough or was it embedded in the earth? Okay. And how does a ball get embedded in the earth on the side of a slope? It's hard to figure that out. But Thomas Pagel says 100%, not 99.9%, 100% embedded in the side there, which makes you think it wasn't embedded. See, I thought it was embedded until Thomas Pagel told me it was 100%. He said, and an embedded ball not in the sand is entitled to relief. Now, Rory did everything at the discretion of the referee. So Rory didn't do anything wrong. In her discretion, her judgment was that the reference point of relief was to the side of the ball. And from that ruling standpoint, that's the end of the story. In other words, end of the story. Rory didn't do anything wrong. He just got a bad advice from the referee. And the referees make a mistake. I get it. They totally but they make a lot of them at the USGA. Oh, man. So Pagel says she's a great referee. She did everything in her judgment with where to operate the drop. However, after further review, it was determined that there was a spot in the general area immediately behind the ball that was the reference point for relief. So I just have to dispute one thing. If you're a great referee, like great referee, I mean, like I'm talking great, like really great, like as great as you could, great is greatness. I mean, like great is like Tiger Woods great. Great is like Muhammad Ali great. Great is like Michael Phelps great. If you're a great referee, great. Do you not know where you're supposed to take a drop from? Like that seems like the most elementary thing. Maybe you do know, but maybe you choke. But if you're great, like great, can you not come through on the clutch and come up with a proper ruling? It just this is the kind of arrogance that organization has all the time. And I know they hate me. Oh, they hate me. They used to call into SiriusXM and bitch about me all the time, that USGA. But you know what? They bring it on themselves. But here's Thomas Pagel. Now he can't see bad ruling, bad drop. We made a mistake. Okay, but they can't do that. There's no freaking way they can do that. They're the USGA. So they're going to have to tell you something else. They can't say, he said, when you start dealing, he's talking about the difference in the drop. Okay. He said, Rory's drop should have dropped maybe a little less than 18 inches from where he dropped. Well, first off, I don't know if that's true, but maybe it was 18, 20, 25 inches, whatever. But if you start dropping closer to the bunker, all of a sudden your stance gets to be an issue. And when you drop closer to the bunker, you have more rough to fly over with your pitch shot. Now you can't, listen, let's be serious here. When you're hitting a pitch shot, the more you have to hit it over rough, the harder the pitch shot is. That's undeniable. When you're pitching from a foot off the apron and you're pitching from 4 yards off the apron, those are two different shots. Don't tell me they're the same shot, because they're not the same shot. Because when you muff it or fluff it off of a foot off the apron, it still gets over the over onto the apron. It gets over the rough. But if you muff it from 4 yards off the apron, it still stays in the apron sometimes. I mean, don't tell me it's the same thing, because it's not. I mean, don't insult my intelligence and tell me that it didn't matter at all, because it could have mattered. Okay, it could have mattered. It totally could have mattered. But here's Thomas Pagel. When you start dealing with vertical faces, that's where the question is. And in this case, there was a lot going on. What was a lot? You're down the face. You figure out where the nearest point of relief is. You measure up the face. You go across. I didn't know that was a ruling, but I'm not a USGA official. But I was thinking it was kind of weird. How is he going all the way to the top of the hill here? Why does he get to drop at the top of the hill? But that's what she let him do. I thought, hey, she's letting him do it. It must be okay. So he goes. Here's the Thomas Pagel, Mr. T-shirt Thomas Pagel. And he says, to make sure the ball was no closer to the hole, Rory started measuring from the point to the right of the flagstick on the angle up to the top of the hill, but away from the hole. Okay, whatever that means, I don't know. But here he goes. From where he started measuring from, he didn't get a break. And he did it all this at the discretion of the referee. He definitely did it at the discretion of the referee. But don't tell me he didn't get a break, because he did get a break. And, it happens. Hey, he got a break. He wasn't doing anything to gain an advantage. I don't think he was doing anything to gain an advantage. I'm not saying he was doing anything to gain an advantage. But he did gain an advantage. He wasn't trying to gain an advantage. I don't think he was trying to gain an advantage. Although when they called that referee over there, trust me, he was hoping he was going to get an advantage. I coached on tour for 35 years. Every player that calls a referee over is hoping that referee gives them a favorable drop. There's favorable drops. There's not favorable drops. And you have a better chance. This is all, you got a better chance of getting a favorable drop from an amateur referee than you do from a professional. And the professionals are on the PGA Tour. That's where the professionals are. They would not have screwed up. One, because they would know the rules better. Two, because they don't choke. And that's the difference. And for Thomas Pagel to insult your intelligence and tell you, oh no, it was he didn't get any advantage. Yeah, he did. He did. I mean, the rest of the field would say he did. Now, did it cost him a number? Did it save him a stroke or two? That's not the point. It could have. It could have. And it's a good thing it didn't. Because what if Rory would have won that tournament? What a black, see, they get lucky. They got lucky. The USGA got lucky when Dustin Johnson had enough internal fortitude to overcome the BS the USGA threw at him right in the middle of his round. But Dustin Johnson is so mentally tough at Oakmont, he won that tournament anyways. That bailed out the USGA, okay? When they had, their tournament at Shinnecock, and it could have boiled down to those greens they didn't water or those pin placements they put in the wrong spot, but it ended up where it didn't. It hurt people, but it hurt people that were down the list, and, nobody cares about those people. They lost a few $100,000, no big deal, but they didn't lose the tournament, okay? It could have hurt Gordon Sargent. And when he hit that putt on the last hole from a foot and a half, and it hit the cup, the metal of the cup, and popped out. When he did that, you know what? What if that would have happened on the last hole? What if Wyndham Clark was putting out for the U.S. Open, and he would have hit that last putt from a foot, and it would have metal and bounced straight back out, and he lost the U.S. Open? What if that would have happened? It didn't, but it could have. It could have. They've gotten lucky. They gotten lucky. So this whole Rory thing, it in the drop, it didn't turn into be that big a deal, but they're still talking about it. People are still talking about it. But you know what? I say it every year. One thing is consistent. When you watch the U.S. Open, just get ready. Just get ready. Just get ready. Because it is just a matter of time. Every time. It's a matter of time. There will be something. And there will always be something. And then after that something, the fun really starts, because then the USGA starts trying to explain it. And it is a comedy, and it always is. And just like it was when Big Pants Golf got that USGA official on the phone, that's when the real comedy started. And it's just continuing and continuing. And you know what? Some things never change. Hope everybody enjoyed the podcast. Follow me on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow me on nofilter.net. We will talk to you soon on the Hank Haney Podcast.